What's up, everybody? Back for another beer review, and today I'm reviewing a beer from Tröegs Independent Brewing, and they're out of Hershey, Pennsylvania, and this is their Boysenberry Tart Ale. So this is a Gose that is brewed with boysenberries, sea salt, and coriander. Comes in at 4.5% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed in the time of review. This can is approximately 2 months old. So Tröegs. I like Tröegs. I reviewed at least one beer on the channel. I know I reviewed the 2019 release of their Nugget Nectar. I don't remember if I've reviewed anything else. But one thing that I really haven't had too many of from Tröegs are sour beers, or tart ales as they like to call this one. So I was quite interested to see how this one turns out, just because I've never had a sour beer from them. So they call this a Boysenberry Tart Ale. And it's funny because this is a Gose. I mean, they're brewing it with sea salt and coriander. And I think the reason they call it a tart ale is basically marketing. If you think about it like this, we are beer nerds, most of us, most of you watching my channel, myself, so we know what a Gose is. But a lot of just, average beer consumers, they don't know what a Gose is. But if they see tart ale, they might be more inclined to pick it up or not pick it up, and not be surprised, because Gose doesn't really mean anything to the average person. But if you know beer, then you know what a Gose is. So they just call this an ale that's brewed with boysenberries, sea salt, and coriander, but it is a Gose. So I just want to point that out. I also think this was part of their Scratch series at some point, and they did call it a Boysenberry Gose. So it's funny how they changed it when they actually canned it and got it out to distro. But anyway, yeah, sounds pretty interesting. I like boysenberries. It is a mix of blackberries and raspberries. It's a hybrid, and this sounds like could be potentially a very good spring/summer crusher. We will see. Let's give it a pour here. Yeah, that pours out really nice, like pink color. Yeah, that's like straight up pink. Hashtag not really proper glassware, but kind of, but not really. It is a matte elf glass, so like 50-50. So yeah, that has this really bright pink color. About a finger and a half of a light pink head. Very creamy looking head, in fact. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Looks nice. It looks like what I'd expect a berry Gose to look like. Let's get a nose on it. Yeah, that's kind of exactly how I pictured it. So this isn't necessarily jammy. This is just like, it's like sweet and tart. I want to mention on the back of this, it says the jammy juiciness of 12 pounds per barrel of real boysenberries is balanced with a bit of pucker thanks to the first stage fermentation with lactobacillus. They talk about how the coriander gives off a hints of wildflowers, and a pinch of salt amplifies the refreshing sweet tart berry goodness. I will say, totally sweet tarts in this one. It has a really nice tart boysenberry. I would say leaning more towards the raspberry side of things, but there is a sweetness here too. Definitely a salinity from the salt. They say wildflowers. It's giving me off like a generic floral character. Coriander's weird for me. When there's too much of it, I'm not a fan. When it's used in a beer like this, where it's not the predominant note and it's like the third or fourth character, I'm fine with it. It has a touch of funk. It seems like it's going to be slightly acidic. And probably decently tart, but it's not screaming straight on like, mouth puckering sour. But yeah, nice balance of the sweetness and the tartness. There's a real nice raspberry character. I wouldn't tell you this is necessarily boysenberries. I'm not really getting blackberries, but it just smells like a really, really nice Gose with some kind of raspberries in it. Cheers, everyone. Let's get into it. That's pretty solid, yeah. So the first thing I'll mention is, even though in the nose it was screaming sweet tarts and berries, that is not, it's not like, how do I explain this? It's not full-on berry goodness in the glass. I'm getting more of the base Gose characters. That coriander is here, definitely almost unmistakable. There's a graininess from the Gose, a little bit of like a malt graininess. There's definitely a big salinity here, more so than the vast majority of Goses that I've been drinking lately. Body is lower side of medium body, so a little bit bigger at 4.5%, which is cool. The mouthfeel, crisp, relatively clean, refreshing, effervescent. There's a lot of carbonation here. It's spritzy. It's what you want from a Gose. It's very easy to drink, but I'm not getting a ton of the boysenberry. Don't get me wrong, it's here. And there is, a sweeter berry, there's a tart berry. But when you're using 12 pounds per barrel, I just thought there would be, a lot more. But right up front, you're hit with that nice mix of sweet and tart. I would say straight on raspberries. If I was doing this blind, I would not guess boysenberries. I'm not really getting any blackberries in this one. As it passes through the palate, a little bit of that malt graininess. The coriander sticks its head in, and there's a salinity all throughout the palate. It finishes relatively dry. Relatively dry with that salinity on the back end. Like I said, though, it's relatively clean as well. There is a bit of that salinity, but for the most part, you're pretty much devoid of all flavors on the palate. Yeah, this is, like I said, like going into this one, I said I thought it would be a pretty good summer and spring crusher, and I would say it is. It's not blowing me away from a flavor standpoint, but it's very easygoing. It's 4.5%. You could pick up a 6-pack of this and just enjoy yourself throughout the day. You wouldn't get trashed, and you'd be very refreshed, so to speak. So, Boysenberry Tart Ale from Tröegs. I'm going to give this a solid 3.75 out of 5. If it had a little bit more oomph to the flavor, a little bit more of that jammy goodness, I don't necessarily need it to be jammy. I just want more boysenberry. It would definitely get into the 4 range, but as is, 3.75 out of 5. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. I do enjoy it. If you have had this one, let me know what you think about it. By the time I post this review, I do believe that they're going to have a raspberry tart ale come out. I think they have 3 that they're releasing throughout the spring and summer, and the raspberry one's next. I believe this one is going to get distro throughout, I think until like the beginning to mid-May, and then the raspberry comes in. So if you do see this one still kicking around on the shelf by the time I post this review, definitely give it a go. And if you've had it before, let me know what you think about it. So appreciate you stopping by for another beer review, and until the next one, cheers.